California Governor Gavin Newsom is now calling his city's homeless encampments unacceptable, which is odd since he's the guy who, made them acceptable, turning sidewalks into red carpet events for drug addicts, thieves, and unemployed CNN anchors. On Monday, he urged cities from sidewalks, parks, and other public areas. So after years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a as you're leaving a whorehouse.
When Greg Gutfeld takes aim at Gavin Newsom, it's more than just late-night jabs, it's a full-blown political takedown wrapped in razor-sharp wit and flaming sarcasm. Gutfeld doesn't just mock, he dismantles. Behind Newsom's polished smile and camera-ready hair, Gutfeld spotlights a state unraveling where crime is rising, businesses are packing up, and leadership feels more like a Netflix drama than real governance. Every punchline slices through the FOD, exposing a governor who seems more obsessed with optics than outcomes. California didn't get a leader, it got a walking press release. And while the lights stay bright, Gutfeld makes sure the audience sees the cracks beneath the gloss.
So if restoring order is evil, then the Dems are now the party of disorder. Turns out the only system they had was wokeism, and it rotted any basic principles the party had to begin with. Which is why, like Gavin himself, they're left looking at 2028's hopes going up in flames. And this time, no one is going to help them put.
Gavin Newsom doesn't just enter a room, he makes an entrance like he's the star of a high-budget shampoo commercial. His hair? Impossibly perfect. His confidence? Glossed over like a luxury magazine cover. But Greg Gutfeld isn't dazzled. He doesn't roll out the red carpet, he lights the fuse. Newsom may think he's stepping into a photo op, but he's actually walking straight into a verbal furnace. And Gutfeld? He's already turning up the flame with every line.
Apparently the baked bread exemption has puzzled observers for months, but Newsom told reporters it's just part of the sausage making of politics. So what's that mean, sausage making? We know it has nothing to do with Gavin cooking. He prefers dining out, especially when everyone else is locked down under threat of arrest. The phrase refers to the unpleasant way in which a process is carried out behind the scenes. When someone says, you don't want to know how the sausage is made, it's usually referring to something.
Greg dives headfirst into the glaring hypocrisy, calling out how Gavin Newsom preaches climate responsibility while zipping across the skies in private jets like he's on a Napa Valley vacation. It's the political equivalent of a die-hard vegan showing up to a barbecue in a leather apron, tone-deaf and laughably ironic. All the while, California is battling raging wildfires, crippling droughts, and some of the highest carbon emissions per capita. But sure, his Instagram moment wine, glass in hand, sunset in the background totally screams eco-warrior, right?
California Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass denounced the federal immigration raids. So now they don't want California to have ice or water. So last week, Newsom said he hopes the conservative Supreme Court will overturn the current law that bans his state from removing out-of-control homeless encampments. Imagine that. Well, what did you expect, Gavin? That the sanctuary seekers were going to show up and win a...
When it comes to California's housing crisis, Greg tears into Newsom's record like a wrecking ball with perfect comedic timing. Here's a governor who struggles to get a single affordable home built for working families, yet somehow, he's a master at cranking out executive orders faster than a DMV line forms. Bureaucracy strangles every blueprint, while ambitious plans vanish into thin air, smothered by red tape and NIMBY resistance. Entire housing projects get reduced to fantasy, replaced by parking lot disputes and press releases. And Newsom's latest fix? A glossy billboard campaign. Because apparently nothing says we're ending homelessness like an ad on Sunset Boulevard.
Be the governor of any state, what would it be? And you might say, oh, I would be in Texas, live free or die. No, that's New Hampshire. Just live free, whatever. It's
or just die.
Die, or just, it's California. Because people can live under the most incompetent governance ever, but it's still California.
And then comes California's crime wave Newsom style. Greg wonders if the governor's magic wand only works for illusion, because all we're seeing is glitter tossed in the air and branded as community engagement. Meanwhile, carjackings, spike, sidewalks turn into open-air drug markets, and aggressive panhandlers make every stroll down Main Street feel like you've wandered into a dystopian set piece. Residents don't need city council, they need survival guides. But Gavin's grand solution? Yet another glowing press release about compassionate leadership. Because clearly, empathy is the key to getting your stolen iPhone back from a guy driving a dented minivan.
Why do I keep bringing up Gavin? Well, other than my respect for his work in American Psycho, he's starting to distance himself from his party's worst ideas. Newsom, a guy who hates fossil fuels but could still bring down the price of gas by wringing out his hair, once proclaimed that his state would be a sanctuary to all who seek it. Then people actually came, tons of them, moving faster than a mob of Walgreens shoplifters.
Greg digs even deeper into Gavin Newsom's ever-growing theater of politics, where every move feels less like leadership and more like a live performance. One week it's cancel this, the next it's mandate that. And don't forget the constant finger-wagging at other states like he's auditioning for America's most self-righteous governor. If virtue signaling were an Olympic sport, Newsom would take gold. He doesn't just govern, he grandstands, often from a scenic overlook, tweeting policies while the streets below simmer in dysfunction. Then there's the budget. Greg compares it to Gavin's personal playbook of unchecked spending. Millions thrown at nonprofits, mystery grants handed out like candy at a parade, and lofty promises financed by tomorrow's deficits. California isn't just burning cash, it's funding fantasy projects, high-speed rail to nowhere, designer social programs no one asked for, climate tech buzzwords with unicorn logos and billion-dollar price tags, while roads crack and public services limp. And let's not forget the infamous French Laundry fiasco. Gavin, who had just banned indoor dining, was caught schmoozing at a high-end restaurant like a plot twist no one needed. The rules? Apparently for everyone else. And the smirk he wore while doing it? That said everything Greg needed to roast.
After years of denying the problem, he's now pretending to fix it, which is like putting on a condom as you're leaving a whorehouse. Who hasn't?
What's a condom?
But as always, when a far-left Dem runs for national office, he acts like a Republican. This is where the left is really pro-trans. Suddenly, they grow.
Greg takes aim at Gavin's overhyped healthcare promises, those flashy announcements that sound great on paper but vanish before hitting reality. Universal coverage? Mental health reform? State-funded addiction recovery? It all sounds noble, until you try booking a routine checkup and get an appointment 6 months out. Instead of real solutions, we get endless roadmaps, task forces, and pilot programs that never quite leave the launch pad. Then Greg shifts to the education debacle. Schools shuttered, students falling behind, parents left scrambling for answers. California's academic rankings are sliding down faster than a kid on a playground slide, yet Gavin keeps pitching buzzwords like equity in education and Classroom 2.0. Meanwhile, the reality feels more like version 0.5 beta. And of course, there's the Hollywood connection. Gavin's inner circle looks less like a leadership team and more like a casting call, lobbyists cashing in, insiders scooping up contracts, and celebrity endorsements sprouting like branded merchandise. To Greg, it's not governance. It's glamorized grift, a talent agency disguised as a state house. The question is, where are the results hiding behind the spotlight?
So Newsom is fed up with tent cities, the crime, the urban decay? No, he's not mad about that stuff. He's mad you noticed. It's like a criminal telling a jury he's sorry he robbed 25 banks when he's just sorry he got caught on the 26th. Because this isn't some spontaneous crisis. It's a man-made disaster like Chernobyl or Fox and Friends.
Greg shines a spotlight on Gavin Newsom's pandemic performance and calls it what it truly was: political theater. 1 minute, Newsom's flexing his authority like the king of lockdowns, closing salons, gyms, and even bakery lines, preaching sacrifice and public discipline. The next minute, he's photographed dining maskless at the French Laundry, sipping wine with lobbyists like it's just another day on the vineyard. His policies swung more wildly than his private jet schedule, and Greg doesn't miss the irony. The rules are for you, not for Gavin. Then there's the so-called budget surplus. Newsom bragged about billions in reserve until he burned through it like a teenager with a platinum credit card. The money flowed into political pet projects, mystery grants, and headline-grabbing bailouts. Now, California's credit rating is teetering, yet somehow there's still room in the budget for electric surfboards and solar-powered boats that nobody asked for. Greg also skewers Newsom's obsession with optics. Every crisis becomes a branding opportunity. Wildfire? Cue the cinematic PSA. Drought? Post a filtered photo. Earthquake prep? Launch a hashtag. But walk through real neighborhoods, and it's all boarded up storefronts and empty promises.
Gavin ponders why Dems lost.
We lost. We lost the popular vote, and we lost the electoral vote. We got crushed. And we need to be humble about that, and we need to have some grace, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above? I think we are going through that forensic. We need to understand at the same time, we also have to push back against the whitewaters and headwinds of the Trump administration.
When it comes to environmental promises, Greg tears into Newsom's record with surgical precision. Gavin talks a big game about a zero-carbon future, solar panels, wind power, the whole eco-dream. But behind the curtain, he quietly greenlights fossil fuel permits, hiding them behind layers of carbon offset lingo no one outside a think tank understands. The state enforces carbon taxes with one hand while handing out waivers to polluting industries with the other. Greg smirks. Gavin's greener in rhetoric than in actual results. Then Greg shifts to Newsom's political climb, from slick mayor to lieutenant governor to governor, like scaling a staircase built entirely from campaign slogans. By the time he reached the top, the whole structure was wobbling, but Gavin still grins like a kid who built a Lego palace without ever checking if the table was level. And let's not forget his favorite gimmick, the endless task forces. Every time disaster strikes, Newsom assembles a new crew with flashy names like Innovation Cohort or Future Now Council, as if branding alone could fix wildfires, homelessness, or water shortages. Greg doesn't see leadership, he sees a TED Talk in a $5,000 suit, wrapped in kale, served with a side of buzzwords.
So Los Angeles is on fire again. It's like deja vu, the French words for Newsom sucks. So while ICE was out investigating a criminal conspiracy, rioters assumed it was an immigration raid and swarmed and assaulted the feds. And no surprise, the state's leadership spent 2 days giving the rioters more support than Pelosi's underwater.
Greg dives headfirst into the carnival that is Gavin Newsom's energy policy, and it's a show worth watching. He chuckles at the absurdity of shutting down nuclear plants, the cleanest large-scale energy source available, only to beg Californians not to run their air conditioners during record-breaking heat waves. It's like turning off the fridge and asking everyone not to open the door. California, once the tech epicenter of the world, now sounds like a dystopian PSA. Please refrain from using your toaster after PM. The irony is so thick it could melt into the pavement, assuming there's still enough grid power to light the streets. Blackouts are so frequent. Greg jokes that candles may soon face energy taxes. Meanwhile, Gavin likely relaxes under a backup generator fueled by self-righteous smugness. Greg skewers how Newsom turns every policy into a moral crusade. His press briefings feel more like sermons, each bill delivered like scripture from Mount Sacramento. And then there's the bureaucratic nightmare. Want to open a lemonade stand? Better bring a permit and a prayer. Fix a fence? You'll need a zoning law expert. Yet while small businesses choke on red tape, Gavin's corporate pals enjoy fast-tracked deals, tax loopholes, and political handshakes.
Often said that life is like a crap sandwich. The more bread you have, the less crap you gotta eat. But in Gavin Newsom's California, they mean it literally. California recently passed a law mandating a higher minimum wage for fast food restaurants, raising it from 16 to 20 bucks an hour. But it offers an odd exemption for chains that bake bread and sell it as a standalone item. Why? What difference does that make? Why shouldn't a restaurant/bakery be subject to the same laws as everybody else? Is the bakers union that powerful? If you cross them, will you wind up with the Pillsbury Doughboy's head in your bed? No one will say. But according to a new Bloomberg News report, Newsom pushed for the bread exemption to help a longtime campaign donor, billionaire Greg Flynn, who happens to own a bunch of Panera Breads.
Greg sets his sights on Gavin Newsom's strange and relentless obsession with comparing California to entire nations, as if managing the state's collapsing DMV system is somehow on par with leading a global superpower. Gavin's favorite line, "If California were a country," and Greg doesn't miss a beat. Yeah, he laughs. If California were a country, it'd be the one constantly rescuing its own citizens from potholes the size of bathtubs and wildfire evacuations. Right after bragging about electric buses no one can afford and few even ride. But wait, it gets better. Greg digs into the water crisis. Gavin points fingers at climate change while ignoring the obvious: rotting infrastructure, decades of ignored maintenance, and environmental regulations so thick they choke any attempt to build water storage facilities. Droughts happen every year, yet California acts like it's always the first time. And then there's the Gavin media machine. Each press appearance is dripping with overproduced charm, slicked back hair, gleaming smile, hands moving in rehearsed rhythm, like he's auditioning for a role in the West Wing California edition. He tosses shade at states like Texas and Florida while his own is grappling with surging crime, imploding cities, and sidewalks that now serve as unlicensed rehab centers. Greg calls it what it is: a charisma-fueled illusion. Gavin isn't running a government, he's running a photo shoot. A life-sized, live-action political Barbie, complete with interchangeable outfits, but only one speech in the box.
Kennedy, I think the answer is yes, 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 yes.
Was it because of Israel? Yes. Interest rates? Yes. Too woke? Yes. It's like every bad policy that trickled up to the White House during the Biden administration started in California. That state is responsible for the worst politicians in modern history. And he is at the top of the list. And there are some ignoramuses on that list.
Adam Schiff,
Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris.
Yes.
Like, those are all the people who are the products of the California monoparty vacuum. And he's the guy who thinks he's going to run for president when, so much of the state is absolutely unlivable. And so every project that he's championed, he's now trying to demonize conveniently, and people are not that.
Greg jokes that if Gavin Newsom ever ran a bakery, he'd blow $10 million on stylish signage, another $15 million on influencer campaigns, and completely forget to actually bake the bread. But don't worry, he'd still throw a lavish ribbon cutting ceremony, beaming for cameras in front of an oven that's never been turned on. Even his moments of humility feel more like performance art than sincerity. Greg roasts Gavin's carefully staged apology tour after breaking his own COVID restrictions. Suddenly, it was all listening sessions and hearing the pain, complete with solemn nods and designer denim. Greg smirks, saying Gavin's idea of accountability is sitting in a luxury chair, sipping sparkling water, and faking empathy like it's a curated emotion, artisanal guilt, handcrafted for headlines. And when the recall effort came, Gavin didn't defend his record. He played the victim with the flair of a Broadway understudy who finally got to take center stage. He smeared challengers, ticked off partisan talking points, and shielded himself behind a wall of celebrity endorsements and union money.as for legacy. Greg says if California were a novel, Gavin would be the unreliable narrator constantly revising the storyline while the plot burns behind him. He's building the most expensive, overregulated, underperforming state in the nation. But don't worry, it'll all look amazing on Instagram. Because in Gavin's world, as long as you look great tumbling off a cliff, that counts as visionary leadership.